check your ego.
Yeah.
Check your ego, because a lot of people don't talk to themselves enough, and that's why when they're having conversations or when things are happening, their ego just comes out center stage. I'm always checking my ego to say, bro, you've had a great journey, bro.
Yeah.
Like, you've learned so much. You're a whole different person. Like, your brand's growing. People know your brand. You probably can't even put a number on how many people have seen your brand. You can't put a number on how many people have tasted your brand. Right? And if somebody had said this to you at the start, you would have bit their hand off. So stop complaining. Right? Let's get to work.
Yo, people, welcome to the Bread and Butter podcast. You're here with myself, Tayo.
And myself, Emmanuel.
And today, we've got Sam in the building, a.k.a. Rum Rockstar, a.k.a. Las Olas founder in the building. Welcome, bro.
Thank you, man. I appreciate it. Thank you guys for having me. Appreciate it, man.
You're a very unique guest to us. I don't think we've had anyone like you on the podcast. So please can you introduce yourself to the audience and tell them what your bread and butter is.
Yeah, so I'm Sam Williams, founder of Las Olas. Some people know me out there as like Sebi, Rum Rockstar, multiple aliases. One for another day. But my bread and butter is like the spirits industry, in particularly rum. So rum is more so like when we niche down, my go-to thing, my bread and butter.
Amazing. And how long have you been doing that for?
I quit my job in 2018. So yeah, wow. coming up to what, 6 years? Well, 6 years actually. Yeah, 6 years.
So you've been doing it for 6 years?
Yeah,
fully
6 years.
On it, 6 years?
Yeah, 6 years. Quit my job. Yeah.
When did you? Because I presume that you founded it alongside a job like most people do.
No.
You didn't?
No. Do you know what it is? But so basically, I was working, as I was saying earlier on before we recorded, I was working as an electrical engineer on the Elizabeth line.
Yeah.
So I was working on different projects. So I was working on the HS2, working on Elizabeth line, worked on other things like that. And basically, I'd been doing that for 3 or 4 years. And for like 3 or 4 years, I'm like, I'm going to quit every day. But I didn't know what I wanted to do. So the reason why I ended up quitting and starting at the same time is because I'd wanted to quit every single day. And then an opportunity presented itself where it was like a series of back-to-back things that was happening at work. And then one time it was like an incident happened, and then the manager at the time called me and was like, just talking about this incident, and it's like a movie. When you just hear like white noise, bro's talking
I know
about
exactly
this,
what you're talking about.
He's just like, and this happened and that happened, and I was like, oh yeah, fuck your job. I didn't even think about it, bro. It was just like crazy. It was like, oh yeah, fuck your job. He's like, sorry, so what did you say? I said, when now I have to double down now because I certainly didn't mean it.
It's over.
It's over. Like, I slightly didn't mean it.
Some people just sorry.
No. But like where from slight ego kicked in, and I was like, yeah, fuck your job. He's like, yeah, you sure? I was like, yes. I was like, yeah. I had to say that. You sure, man? You sure? I was like, yeah. And then basically, like, I'd had the idea maybe like 3-4 months before we could go to obviously how I had that idea. But then I was just like, fuck it, boom. And then, 2018.
What does it feel like waking up the next day after you said that?
Did you slap yourself?
Because you've just quit and you didn't plan to quit. So, bro, the diary's clear.
Yeah, diary's clear.
What did you do? Did you wake up, go play ball, or?
Man probably hasn't even switched off his alarm. Man's put the alarms all up to go work. And there's no work.
The craziest thing is I was working nights anyway, so my daytimes were always my daytimes.
Okay, cool.
Right, so I was always like going gym or whatever. The thing is, prior to that, again, I'd like saved a lot or whatever. So I definitely regretted it because I was like, generally, when you're starting up something, you'd ideally want to get to a more comfortable position before you eventually quit. But then in hindsight, when I look at it, actually, if I didn't quit then, I don't know if I'd had the drive I had where I'm like, okay, you have no more income coming in. Let's like figure it out and let's like hustle. So yeah, when I woke up, I was just like, I did regret it, but I was just like, ego, innit? Like, it is what it is now.
And where man's quit like that? Think about, man can't even get reference. Think about, man's scared.
That's another thing.
You can't even let them go back and get reference. You don't know what they're going to tell the next employer.
Yeah.
So now you just have to make it work.
Yeah.
That was a key thing about the reference. So funny enough, again, as I said, like I'd wanted to quit maybe like I wanted to quit every single day for 3 years. But like really, really wanted to quit maybe like 3-4 months, and I was like, I need to quit. I was thinking about this idea and whatever. But I'd also tried to apply for other jobs.
Yeah.
And because I didn't go university, right? For me, I always said like I had a base like level of intelligence or whatever, but I had nothing on paper. Whereas I didn't work any other job but this. Like I kind of worked my way up from like doing private courses. I didn't have no university degree. All I could say is I was trying to like twang it on the CV to say, oh, project management because I did this. But generally, I did project management, but you can't really say it on paper or whatever. So then I was at a point where actually generally I was stuck. I was like, okay, I couldn't quit my job before I quit my job, and I couldn't get another job. So then like I think it was one of those ones. Then when I quit, I had still tried to apply for jobs, and I remember one job getting back to me, funny enough, it was like HS2, but the interview was in the same office as my old job. So it's so mad. I got the interview, but I didn't take it because I knew it was gonna be long.
Yeah.
So
that's crazy. You was an electrical engineer. Like, I want to touch on that briefly.
Yeah.
The other people that were electrical engineers as well. What does that look like? Because that sounds mad to me. Like,
so there's like different forms in it. So there's like a commercial, and then there's obviously like you've got like the rail, and you've got so like electrical engineer is like a broad, loose term. But when I talk about like what I specifically done is when we're talking about let's say like Crossrail, HS2, Elizabeth Line or whatever, I would be in charge of making sure that power was not going into a section that all the like hard people, these labourers or whatever were working. So you have to like study, you have to kind of know which sections that the electrical current's coming down. So when you're on the Elizabeth line or when you're on Thameslink or whatever, those overhead lines, obviously they're like, I think it's like 32,000 volts or whatever. So when people are doing the work and laying the track for the Elizabeth line, you need to make sure that section's blocked off.
Yeah.
It's life or death, pretty much, right? So I was in charge of blocking off individual sections to make sure that it can lay the track or fix the wires and build the whole Elizabeth line or whatever. So in short, in layman's terms, that's what I was doing.
And in 2018, when you quit your job, what was your living situation? And
I was living with my parents. So I was living with my parents, and I was in like 24, 25. Yes, one of those. Yeah.
So here's what I'm getting at, right? Yeah. Surname's Williams, so you're Nigerian, is that correct? Yeah. You're an engineer.
Yeah.
And you quit your job and went back to your parents' house. What was that like?
Well, do you know what? I think at that stage, my parents kind of know me from like when I was a kid.
So they know you to be brazy.
They know me to be brazy. Yeah.
I'm known to be brazy.
Yeah, I'm known to be brazy. Like, it's funny because I had the exact same situation. Did I get kicked out? I got kicked out, but I didn't get kicked out, but I got kicked out of sixth form ish. In like, it's weird to explain. So the first year of sixth form, I got kicked out, right? And I remember my dad driving me back home from the meeting with the head of year, and I turned to him right there and then. I'm not going to university. He couldn't believe it. He couldn't believe what I just said.
He got the white noise thing.
He got the white noise. Yeah. He couldn't believe what I just said. And I just like literally right then I said, I'm not going to university. Again, best decision I've ever made in hindsight. But like, I was like, yeah. So when I had quit my job, and nobody knew, by the way. So like at that point, I might have said I didn't have work or whatever, but I was saying I'm looking to leave, and then I think eventually I think I might have told my mum. I was like, no, you have to do it properly. Like, if you're gonna leave, you have to write a letter, all these other things, like, you know, whatever. But for me, like, again, like I hadn't explained everything I'd been through at that time, so I didn't really, you know, explain to my mum that, so and so it's kind of racist, it's this, it's that, the environment was mad, and one time I almost died. I hadn't explained all of that.
Bro, once you said incident, every black person, we know what that means. Yeah. Like, it's code. Like, when man said I had an incident at work, I understand. Man knows, we go through it all the time. We all know. It doesn't matter what type of line of work you do, we know what it's like. But what was it like? Like, so you've quit now.
Yeah.
You told your parents, like, you have this idea. How did this idea come to go into that? Because we're not there. The hardest thing for a lot of us is that we are doing stuff and we are the first.
Yes.
And that's the scary part, is that you haven't got the blueprint to say someone from your community or your background did X, Y, Z so you can follow in their footsteps. how do you go about having this idea and bringing it to fruition?
I think it's like a lot of it's like luck and making your own luck, but also like being passionate about something, right? So when I like go give this bottle of rum, I for some reason I just like, I love rum. Like I started collecting rum, and so I just loved it first before it was a business. Okay. So before I said, I'm going to start a business, I was just like, it was my thing to kind of show off to my friends to like, I've got these bottles, like I'm collecting these bottles of rum, and then to understand the different types of rum. So it was just more so a hobby thing. But then also I was looking at other spirits in general. I was like, I just love the spirits industry, and then I think the reason why, and the main reason why I was able to kind of quit my job and like power on and like figure it out is because one, I thought like there was like a need, because when I was looking at rum specifically in the UK and the brands in the UK or whatever, I couldn't see nobody from like culture in London doing anything. And then also all of the, let's say anybody that had ventured into the alcohol world from like London, or anybody that I grew up with, was more so like doing like a cocktail, like a rum punch or like a whatever. There's nobody that actually had like a spirit like it itself. And then also I was looking at rum and I was looking at spice rum, and none of the spice rums were premium, right? So I was looking at all of those things and I was like, I have an opportunity to change a whole category, influence a generation, influence the whole world by creating a premium spice rum that didn't really exist. So, and then I loved rum. And then actually one of the key things as well is like, all of that love and all of that's great for like a podcast, but the one thing that I don't really say is I was powered by revenge, right? Powered, like the battery in my back to not go back to my job was so strong, because I'm like, if I fail in my first year, like I'm gonna look like such an idiot, bro. Like, you've quit your job like this. You've said whatever you said. You've said fuck your job. You've can I swear on this? Sorry, yeah. You said F your job. You've done all of these other things, right? And you've got it alone. Even some of your employees are like, why did you do that? Like, why? like some of your employees are calling you like, maybe apologize, or like, what you gonna do or whatever. And people are kind of feeling sorry for you, but like whatever. And for me, I'm like, nah. I'm like, the way I grew up, nah. I'm never going back. So the fact that I was like, I'm never going back, powered me through, especially like the first year and stuff like that.
Amazing. I think that it's good to hear it from you, innit? Because I think that the way that I see Las Olas is that it was exactly that. The first like kind of spirit from someone within our culture. I'm going to ask you a question about that as well, but I guess the first thing I'll say is that, like, even before I'd met you, I know we've got bare mutuals, but even just the Las Olas brand as well, I bought my first bottle years ago, simply because it was the first spirit from someone within our community. Do you feel like throughout your journey you've had that kind of like support?
It's funny you say that, because I was thinking about this recently. So I'm spoilt, right? And I think it's like, because I want to be, I'm so driven and I love this so much. I love business, but I love what I'm doing. Yeah. Right. So I have to talk to myself all the time to say, actually, you're spoilt, because when I think about my journey, I've been helped a lot. Right, I've been helped a lot by, whether it's people in the industry. Stormzy put us on a Guardian article of one of his 3 favorite rums out the gate within a month.
I remember that.
Right, within a month, nobody gets that.
Within a month of what though?
Of launching. So I've launched November the 11th, 2019. His album was coming out the next month. One of my close friends, Whitney, who's now at WME, introduced me to the team. It aligned in Guardian.
It's crazy.
Do you know what I mean? Like, so when I think about all of those opportunities,
mad, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, I'm like,
I've seen the article, I've read it. Stormzy like basically out the gate saying that this is one of my favorite rums.
Do you know what I mean? Out the gate, bro. So when I look at those things, I'm like, you have been helped a lot. Your network has helped you a lot, whether it's like, you know, working with DLT initially, like me and MK just being from DLT, just being boys, playing FIFA, and him saying, you know, I'm going to launch like a brunch thing. There's nothing really in the UK. And in my head, I'm like, we're just on FIFA chat saying, yeah. He's launched a brunch thing. They're blowing up. And I've got a spirit brand. So I'm now sponsoring that. Again, as I said, I've been super spoiled because I've had those opportunities. But when I look at, let's say, like the overall UK, I don't think it's like, I think people know of the brand, but don't maybe understand the magnitude of what I'm trying to do, of what I'm up against, and the things I have to do on a day-to-day basis, as far as like just like running a brand, having a team, what it costs, the whole story or whatever. I don't think that's my fault actually. That's like it's not publicized enough, because when you just think about a rum brand, or when you think about any alcohol brand, you're just like, oh yeah, it's just there, it just exists or whatever.
Yeah.
But funny enough, like, let's take a small thing as far as, okay, let's say I wanted to give you a bottle, right? And I want to give everyone in here a bottle. Nobody understands the cost associated to that for me. They think it's just, oh, you're just giving someone a bottle. But actually, there's like duty, there's like the bottle cost, there's like the production cost. So I'm giving you, let's say, whether it's my COGS, might have been including what the government take, because the government takes something called duty on every alcohol bottle, depending on the percentage and ABV. Yeah. I might be giving you £20, I might be giving you £15 or whatever. So I just outright give that to you, right? And I think because big brands come into this space and want to be part of culture and give so much to everybody, I think people just look at any alcohol brand and just, oh yeah, it just is what it is, right?
Yeah.
And I think it's my fault, and this is what I'm trying to do more of, to maybe give a bit more education on actually this is the whole ecosystem on how to create a brand. This is how much it costs, and this is how much it's not just like, oh, my parents gave me money and I want to do something. No, I grafted for this, and I want to be one of the biggest rum brands in the world.
You said so many important things there. It's actually so sick. So just to help the people understand, what you're saying with the percentages that's going to the government, that it's not like I got a clothing brand that actually costs £1 to make, and then when I put my logo on it, it's now worth £60. But I'm giving it to you and it's cost me £1. Yeah. I'm paying duty on this alcohol basically.
Yeah,
so it's a flat, forget about what it costs to make the rum, just the taxes and that alone. If I give you the bottle, it costs £1 basically.
It costs money. It costs money depending on what ABV the percent the spirit is. You'll pay the government a flat fee. There is no government's coming, look, listen, this is what we want, or whatever. And there are ways to kind of delay it, right? And there's licenses that you can delay it, but ultimately, eventually, when that bottle's sold or when that bottle's left your warehouse or whatever, you're going to have to give the money to the government. Yeah. So it's not exactly what you said. It's not like clothing where, it's £1 and that's £60.
Yeah.
It's crazy. So talk to me about, you said rum, like, how do you just Google, like, what's the ingredients to make a good rum? Like, how do you go about doing because obviously it's something that's been around for time, so there's a core way it's made and so forth. How do you make that unique? Because I don't drink, but I know when these men drink, they're like, oh, I prefer this one to that one. And I'm thinking, these things the same thing? Like, how do you come about getting the idea to create this? Because it's not like some people say that it was passed down from my grandma, and you ain't got that. So how do you go about it?
So there's different. So the first part of your question is like there's different types of rum, but let's talk about let's say spice rum, right? Yeah. Spice rum, which is what I'm in. So with spice rum, there are common ingredients. So some spice rums have ingredients in common, whether that be cinnamon, whether that be vanilla. Those are like generally common ingredients found in most spice rums. Yeah. However, one of the key things I wanted to do is whatever we did eventually spice it with, and I kind of go into that, is I wanted it to be so different that you're like, oh, this is Las Olas. Yeah. And there's other brands that have that personality. So it's just like, oh, I want a personality of the rum to shine through whatever mixes in it. So first, funny enough, I did Google what is in spice rum, and I got the common ingredients. But then because I was like a rum collector, I was like, okay, like I like flavors from this, or I kind of like flavors from that, I like flavors from this. And then what I kind of done, which is kind of weird, is I had an amalgamation of ingredients. I had like a bunch of ingredients. I kind of put them together, and the first recipe tasted horrible, right? And then again, this is like where, where you're from kind of kicks into this business, because, we'll be from like, I'm from like, I grew up in Hackney, moved to Newham, in a city, people are hustlers or whatever. Yeah. So one time I remember calling this guy, and this was like my first experience where I was like, oh, wow, someone looks like me but didn't really want to help. And this guy owned like a brand, right? A gin brand though. It wasn't a rum brand, we're not competing. And I was like, oh, I have a recipe, but I'm looking for someone to fine tune this for me, because I feel like I've got some of like the percentages off or whatever. And I don't know, it kind of flogged my call. And then and then he didn't want to help and it aired me. And then one time I called him and he said, "Oh, I'm on my way to so-and-so distillery. I'll call you back." And I never heard of the distillery. Googled this distillery, yeah. Straight away, Googled the distillery. I said, "I've got a rum brand. I've got a recipe, etc. I just need help scaling it up, and there's some things that are wrong with it." They're like, "I've never done rum, but we'll help you." And there was one guy there was like, it was interesting. It was like, "I've never done a rum before, but let me help." So me and him just like back to back, like taking out this ingredient, taking out this ingredient. It took like a year, like taking out that ingredient, and then I'll send samples off to like rum heads, like the rum heads. I'll get harsh feedback. I'll send samples. Before I started giving samples to my friend, I sent, so this is how much I love the industry. I found who are the top guys in rum and send spice rum, and no top guys in rum. And LinkedIn, I'm a LinkedIn savage, by the way. But no top guys in rum really like spice rum, and we'll go into that another time. But I'll send samples of spice rum to these top guys to get some feedback. And like, "Oh, maybe this is too heavy on the cinnamon, it's too heavy on this, too heavy on that, or whatever." And then take this back. Me and this guy were just going back to back. And then it took me a year. I got this recipe development. It took me a year. We got the recipe down to a T. Then I started to give it to casual people at parties, at whatever, get their thoughts, etc. And then maybe tweak a couple of things. And then I was kind of ready. Once I was like, I wasn't 100% sure because it's so different. Yeah. It was unlike anything I'd tried.
Yeah.
But once I was like, I'm getting a lot of yeses, I was like, okay, this is good enough to kind of to from a liquid point to get into to start to launch or whatever. And then I eventually still changed it when we launched or whatever. And then my base white rum. So generally, spice rum, you have a base. It'll be like a white rum, and then you spice it. Long story short, my base white rum was more so, again, the history of rum. I was like, okay, Barbados, known for like the first rum distillery, and also the flavor profile of a Bajan rum is more like mellow. And then Jamaica, the flavor profile of a Jamaican rum is more like flavorful. It's very funky or whatever. And we can talk about how it's made. So what I wanted to do is have the base of that mellow / like funk is what they call it in the industry, where the base spirit really come through in this, irrespective of the spices.
Yes.
Right. And then I went through that recipe development and then kind of like figured it out from there. And that was just the recipe. The story for the bottle was even like, it's even a weirder one, because I'm a proper freak. Like, I'm a weirdo. Yeah.
I was even gonna wait and get into like the branding perspective of it, but before I do, what does that look like in practice?
Yeah.
Sending bottles to these top heads on LinkedIn that have never heard of you, don't know who you are. What does that look like? Do you reach out to them and then ask for an address, or
reach out via LinkedIn, but also like intros? So what actually really got my biggest intro, and funny enough, I'm going to be meeting him next week, right? And this is now obviously people have people to reach out to, but back then I didn't have no mentors or whatever, especially in business. I'm a guy that's not been in a startup world, entering a startup world. Nobody really knows me, right? So there's this guy. So he was training the son of the owner of Hawksmoor, right? And I'd gone through a severe problem. So I think top end of 2019, the people that were producing my base spirit randomly just pulled out. It's like, this contract ain't big enough, whatever. Anyway, I reach out to Will. I reach out to this guy. It's like the hustle. It's like I reach out to this guy and say, "Oh, can you introduce me?" Because he had kind of bragged, "Oh, I trained the son of the guy who owns Hawksmoor." I'm like, "Yeah," and you should tell me that.
The same guy from the distillery before?
No, this is just a random like I play football with.
Okay.
He's just telling me he trains in, like, he's the guy Will from Hawksmoor. His son plays football. And this guy that I'm talking to, like, I just know is like a football coach. And basically, my distillery had pulled out. So then, in my head, I'm just like, I don't know how I put this. This is 2 + 2 = 32. I don't know how I put this together, but I'm like, okay, you train the son of this guy that called Will, who owns Hawksmoor. Hawksmoor is a super big restaurant. You must know somebody in the hospitality industry. Can you introduce me to Will? After 2 weeks, man, they don't really want to introduce you to anyone. He introduced me to Will, and then Will's like, "Oh, nice guy. Give me like a week. I'll come back to you." He then introduces me to people within the industry, right? Which, one, solved my problem, but also people that I can reach out to and say, "Oh, what's your opinion on this? What's your opinion on that? And then that person introduced me to another person where I'm like, I'm doing this cool thing. What's your opinion on this? And then eventually through networking, but also LinkedIn, etc., I know who's who. And I then like say, okay, I'm doing something. Can I send you a sample? And then that's how it kind of builds from there.
Will is the son of...
Will is the owner of Hawksmoor.
Hawksmoor.
Yeah.
Do you feel like the introductions, people followed through with it because it was Will that was saying that, yo, chat to my man?
Yeah, 100%. So the fact that the intro was coming from the owner of a big restaurant, people are like gassed to chat to me. I don't know, don't know what they thought I was coming with, but they were gassed to chat to me. And there was another guy called Dan who is, again, he grew up. His house was like in Newham, and at that time I was living in Newham, and he just related to me. Again, he saw a young guy trying to do something or whatever, and he was like my first proper mentor, where he was in the spirit. He was the first person in the spirits industry. Again, like middle-aged white guy, he was just like rocking with what I was doing, and he could see I was passionate, and I'll be meeting him, I'll be jumping on calls, like going through this, going through that, the business plan, all these other things that I've never done or whatever, and he really took a liking to me. And then again, he made more intros.
It's so sick because you could definitely see that you're so passionate for it, and you kind of got the know-how and the passion, and a lot of people think that's it, but your story is definitely highlighting how important people around you were to your journey as well.
100%.
Like, how have you found that? Because there's a lot of people that will try and go it out the gate alone and do it all themselves. How have you found that working with people has propelled it?
Oh yeah, again, without people on this journey, I wouldn't be here, right? Because I don't come from a startup background. Prior to this, I'd never ever created a business plan. I like one of my boys who you guys should have on this podcast. He's shy. I don't know why he's behind the scenes. He's done another podcast recently. His name's called Sate. I don't know if you've ever heard of him. He owns something called Hutch Logistics. He's generally one of the smartest people I've ever met. Actually, probably might be the smartest person I've ever met, because when he started to send me like books and podcasts, that was like my university. Like all this, like all this, bro, like all these podcasts, all these business podcasts I was listening to, I was learning. And for me, I'm someone who gathers information quick.
Yeah.
So like the way I'm speaking now, if you listen to a podcast of how I used to, how I'd speak on a podcast maybe 4 or 5 years ago about my business, it's chalk and cheese.
Yeah.
I'm a whole different person, right? And that comes through wanting to learn, but also people wanting to see me win. So like, say again, will send me different books. This person will intro me to this person. This person will like love what I'm doing, give me like some time of day or whatever. Even getting a meeting. Even like as far as like content or whatever. Like I remember my friend Whitney, who introduced me to like the team at Stormzy, like Stormzy's team, etc., introducing me to a girl called Bianca. You might know her. She's from South. She's like does stuff with LMA or whatever. I don't know if you know her. Anyway, Bianca used to work at Universal. Bianca saw everything I was doing, so I launched the brand. She's seen the content I was putting out. Now I'm laughing. She had the straight up. She said straight up, said this content is rubbish. Like, you need to change your content. Like the pictures I was putting up, the graphics was very immature. Like I didn't know what I was doing at that time. Yeah. She saw what I was doing, loved what I was doing, knew me and Whitney were friends, and told me this is rubbish. You need to change it. Like this is not premium. Your brand looks premium, but that was massive for me. Do you know what I mean? So all of these people kind of having like inputs along the journey is why I'm 100% here today.
I'm going to go back a little bit because we perfected the products. We spoke to all of the heads of these distilleries, all the people that can help you. But it's not just the product itself. A lot of it is the packaging and the branding. Yeah. So let's start with that all famous bottle. How did that come about?
So the first bottle was funny because, again, as I said, I wanted to create a premium brand and a premium spice rum, which didn't really exist. So the story that I don't really tell people is I remember like drawing bottles on like paper, but then, so actually I remember Googling like just where to get bottles from. Yeah. And there was loads of manufacturers in the UK, there's loads of manufacturers in like France or wherever, and I was very conscious about just getting it from Europe at the time anyway. Yeah. So I'd found a European company and I'd seen bottles on their like display that I'd never seen anywhere. Like everywhere kind of had a similar bottle, but I've seen bottles and I was like, right, like I've never seen these bottles anywhere. This is like really cool, really premium. But again, me being me, I was like, why has nobody told me about this place? Is this place fake? Like, I think this place fake. So I kind of like I was in Barcelona and I just went there. Like, didn't even know I was coming.
It's really brazy.
Yeah,
like they said earlier.
Like, brazy is the theme of the podcast.
I just went there, didn't know I was coming, right? And went there. I was like, oh shit, it's real, it's legit.
Yeah.
Like, they probably think this guy's a madman. And this guy just popped up, no meeting, no nothing. I've popped up there, and I've just seen their showroom, and I was like, all right, cool. Like, so then there was 2 bottles that I wanted. Funny enough, one bottle was the bottle that we have now, so we went for a relaunch, and one bottle was the bottle that we launched with, right? Yeah. Which everybody loved. So I remember finding a graphic designer and then getting him to just like put some graphics on a bottle or whatever. And at that time, again, this is why I talk about friends and how I'm spoiled, is I was really like cool with Maximum Skepta's DJ. He's from Newham. Like, we have mutual friends. So when Skepta will do shows or when Maximum will have parties, I'll just go or whatever. But I was going. So what I do is, like, one time there was that, like, I had all the graphics on the phone and I go to like all the artists. Like, I remember going to get Slightly Boy Me, but I go to go to different people and I'm like, oh, like, what do you think about this product or whatever? What do you think about? Would you buy it? Yeah. And then like people are like, oh yeah, like I'd buy it. It looks nice. It's different or whatever. And that again, this is why I say I'm a madman. Like, it informed a lot of my feedback. Yeah. And then also what I do when I go to those parties is I'd check for the way how people, I'd sit by the bar, and again, nobody does this today. I sit by the bar and understand, how do people order rum, right? People generally say can have a rum and coke. They never really call out the brand by name. Generally, if you are a fan of like one brand, you might say, and you try to be a bit bougie, kind of have a this one and Coke or whatever. But generally, people say can have a rum and Coke. Yes. And then when I was like looking at that, I was like, okay, the brand is super important, right? Because nobody is calling these rum brands by name. Yeah, they're just calling rum. Whereas like tequila or whiskey or whatever, they're getting called out by the actual name, right? So I use kind of that knowledge plus like showing people the bottles or whatever to kind of create like the branding and all this other stuff. And then
super important.
Yeah. How you come up with the name?
So Las Olas means the waves, and we want to be the new wave of rum.
Wow. And like, how did you know it was gonna work? Did you ask people? Like,
no, I was on a balcony. I was on holiday, and I was listening to the waves, and I was like, yeah, this is the new wave of rum. I swear to you, it's like a film,
bro. When you say you're crazy, bro, that is crazy. Man said, I wanted this, and this is the name. I didn't even ask no one.
I didn't ask.
What do you think of the name? Like, because normally you get a name. What do you think of the name? How does it sound? You just did it.
Yeah, that one I was like, I didn't ask for no inputs. The bottle is funny. So the bottle I got outvoted on the bottle that we had first, which was the right decision, to be fair. And the bottle we have now is the bottle that I always wanted anyway. So that one I like got informed feedback or whatever. But the name, it just came. It came to me. I was like, the new wave of rum. I was on the balcony listening to waves on holiday, and I was like, yeah,
talk to me about peas, because you're talking all this stuff, distilleries and all and bottles and all that. Bruv, I've just in my head the numbers is. I'm a financial advisor. Yeah. All I'm doing is adding numbers in my head. How do you get started? Like, where do you get your investment from? How do you get started, and how do you carry on going? Because it seems like it's very. The thing about a product-based business is very high cost up front, right? Before you've even made £1.
It costs a lot. Yeah. So two ways how I got started. One, me and my friends, so I had 2 co-founders at the start. We all put our money together, right? But how I didn't take a penny from the business to 2021. How I managed to do that is because I was working as an electrical engineer. All the money I'd saved for my mortgage, I just dumped into the company. And people are not willing to do that. And that's that. And again, that's a big difference between me and other people, is like, especially from our community, because especially because we didn't really grow up with money, when we eventually acquire this money, we want to hold on to it, right? We want it safe. We want to hold on to it, right? And if you get your first property, great or whatever. But as far as like investments or what, we're not really on that. For me, like I've always been a risk taker. Like it's why people say I'm like I've always been a risk taker, and I always try something because, and I understand this now in hindsight, is that one person in your generation has to buck the trend, right? So one person's going to be the one that says, oh, actually, I'm going to risk it to see if the future generations are going to be cool. So all of my money that I saved for the mortgage, that was all my runway. That was the money that we invested or whatever. And when we got to, again, 2021 is when the brand started to eventually turn enough cogs to start to take away, start taking like money from money. I also the back end of 2021, and I can't explain the story, but I have to explain it off mic. I got a bounce back loan. The bounce back loan totally legit or whatever, but it was so hard because the company was so like, it was still like quite in its inception or whatever. It was so hard to get it right. But again, like other people give up. I was doing everything to get this loan because it was only literally, well, our loan's gonna be paid back now or whatever, but it was for the next production run because I was gambling on this big production run in 2021. So we got that bounce back loan, gambled on a production run, things went well, and like from there.
So roughly, what would you say before you started to make money from the business? How much do you think you put in?
I think we'd put in including the bounce back loan.
Yeah, everything.
Probably like 120k, 130k. So like 120, and I wasn't taking a wage. So then I was
gonna say not employed.
I'm not employed. But 2021, I was at the end of my runway. Like I was at the end of my runway where I'm like, all right, if we don't start to do something soon, I'm gonna have to get a part-time job. I'm not gonna give up, but I'm looking at things. I'm like, I might have to get a part-time job or whatever. But again, like something is like I was waking up every single night, adding people on LinkedIn, trying to connect. Like I was doing everything, bro. So yeah, we got to 2021, and eventually those cogs started to turn, and we started to do what we're doing.
I know we're saying brazy, but there's a theme here, right? And I think it's, if you want extraordinary results, you got to do extraordinary things, because there's not a lot of people that are willing to go to your friend Maximum's party and start going up to Gets and saying, "Bro,
I'm a man with pride,
like this logo?"
Yeah, of course.
I'm a man with pride.
Do you know what I'm saying? But you have to be able to do it. We speak about this stuff all the time. Like, do you like this logo? Do you like this logo? Like, getting feedback from people whose feedback you actually value, innit? End of your runway, 2021. It went well, right? What actually changed to that point? What's the difference between pre-2021 and post-2021?
So, like, I think I can't, because of NDAs, I can't talk a lot about it, but we did get some investment. But the only reason why we got investment is because, so we did like a drop, and we're trying to bring back this drop, right? And I think in like one day, not one day, but over a course of 2 days, I think we might have sold like 1,000 bottles, right? Because like we did like sign-ups, and I always used to tell people, forget, like, Instagram and Twitter is great, but like your mailing list. And again, this is just me just acquiring knowledge. When I used to listen to the podcast, they're talking about mailing lists, and I was like, this makes sense. If Instagram and Twitter shut down tomorrow, where's my community? The mailing list, right? So right now I still have a mailing list, and I send out founder emails every Sunday, and there's 3,000 people every single Sunday religiously read what I have to say. Yeah. So previously, and the thing is, I sent it to 6,000. We have a 50% open rate, right? So anyway, when I was doing that, I started just acquiring mailing lists, and then I started to kind of, the product wasn't really in stock or whatever, and I kind of like withdrew the product back. I'm like, all right, look, we're gonna relaunch on this date, right? We're relaunching. I can't remember what date it was in 2021. Sign up. I drove a lot of sign-ups, right? And when that link went live, kind of really started to pick up traction, done crazy numbers. My Shopify app was going insane. I couldn't even think. And them times I was still kind of doing orders myself. So I had like a little warehouse unit in Bow. And when I think about the amount of boxes I've packed, the amount of all of these, I was packing all the boxes at the time myself, right? So packing all these boxes, me and my boy packed those boxes at those time because it was too much. It was like 1,000 or whatever. But so once we done all of that, it was like, okay, like people started to see, got like one investor, but we had done a lot of things before that. So I think prior to 2021, I think we'd sold maybe like 5,000 bottles from like launch to then, about 5,000 bottles ish or whatever. We'd done some events, people had seen it. So we were doing a bunch of things, right? And people had seen us. And then eventually that's when someone gets interested in like, okay, like let's help and like kind of take you guys to the next level and whatever.
Amazing. Because I would say, even myself, that I feel like Las Olas has been a lot more visible in the last 3 years, as you mentioned. One thing I want to ask: the previous co-founders, are they still within the business?
Yeah, so they got a percentage of the business, and it was good because they like, again, it's funny, and this is going to be great advice to give people when you're launching a brand or when you're launching anything with your friends that you grew up with. There's like ends way to do business, and there's like a business way to do business, right? And the great thing about my friends is eventually when we became clued up on a business way to do business, that transition was seamless, right? From the percentage, etc. It was seamless. From originally it's like, oh, we're gonna go equal. Then it's like, all right, look, this is my dream, etc. or whatever. And we don't really love it like you love it, etc. To get this deal done, this has to happen or whatever. I had the best case scenario. Other people are not going to have that scenario. Yeah. So when you first start or whatever, just to know, all right, who is leading this dream? Who's going to be putting the majority of the work? Who's literally putting their life on the line, which is what I'm doing. And then that should reflect who gets what and whatever.
Well, you said it's so true. We just had this in my company. I launched a comparison website, and there's 3 of us, and we all had equal share. But after a while, we realised that one man is doing more than everyone else. And it only makes sense that he gets more ownership of that. Forget whether my face is what they say on the website. The truth is, I'm busy doing other stuff when this is all he does. He doesn't do anything else. So you're right. And it's important that, like, it's great when you first start. Yeah, well, you've got this idea. But then when you actually get to the practical nuts and bolts of what's happening day to day, you have to take away ego. And obviously, men as pride, like, we're very proud, but as men, you have to say, listen, if we come at the beginning, if he had come back and he had told me, I'm going to give you X percentage, I would have bit his hand off. But because we've come and said we're going to be partners, now it's like man's taken away. But the reality is that man's not really... I never should have had that much in the first place, do you know what I mean? And it's, like you said, for things to work, sometimes you just have to have these tough conversations and understand that business is business. And if you want more, you've got to put in more and be able to sacrifice. And it's such an important conversation to be able to have.
Absolutely. And it's credit to yourselves as well, because in both scenarios, it's only worked if you had reasonable friends to begin with. Exactly. All right?
Facts.
You need to have reasonable friends, you know what I'm trying to say, because there's a lot of scenarios, like you mentioned, that could have gone a completely different way. Yeah, you need to stop saying you're spoiled, though. You're favoured, bro.
Yeah, I think the reason why I say I spoke, because it humbles myself.
Yes,
because like when I think, like, I don't want to be entitled, right?
Yes,
and that's why I keep saying I'm spoke, because I have to talk to myself all the time, because I'm like, because I want this so much, and because I want more. When things are not happening, or when I see something there, I'm like, I should have got that, like, or like you're not hustling enough, or like, why didn't this person shout me for this opportunity? And that's why I say I'm spoiled, because it humbles myself. And it kind of like, bro, check your ego. Check your ego, because a lot of people don't talk to themselves enough, and that's why when they're having conversations or when things are happening, their ego just comes out center stage. I'm always checking my ego to say, bro, you've had a great journey, bro. Like, you've learned so much. You're a whole different person. Like, your brand's growing. People know your brand. You probably can't even put a number on how many people have seen your brand. Crazy. You can't put a number on how many people have tasted your brand. Crazy. Right? And if somebody had said this to you at the start, you would have bit their hand off. So stop complaining. Right? Let's get to work.
It's hard though, because you're always going to look at what other people are doing. Me and Ty always talk about it. Like, we're blessed.
Yeah, we're blessed. But you can't help but notice.
But man still see someone else doing an ad, and I'm like, yo.
Why is that for me? You want to cast on it and capture everything.
I want to capture everything. Do you know what's so mad? Yeah, I might see someone like do an event, and like, let's say Alcohol Brand do an event, right? And I'm like, bro, you've just done 4 events back to back. This one event that they done, like, what's wrong with you? Like, and I think it's not about them.
Yeah,
it's about like, I just want like, I'm
everything possible.
Everything possible, bro.
Yeah.
Right. And I think that's why, again, that's why I keep saying, like, your sport, because it just helps me check myself.
I want to jump into something which you probably knew I would have jumped into anyway. Your brand is very, very unique in that a lot of brands, they have a good, very strong element of personal branding. You came up, if I'm right in saying, very much so Las Olas. No one really knows who Sam is. Like, for me, it was Las Olas, Rum Rockstar, then Sam.
Yeah,
Do you get what I'm trying to say?
Mm.
How is that kind of like, is that changing now? And how do you feel it was building a business with that?
So it's yeah and no. So I benefited from Twitter. So I kind of did have personal branding, but not like this current version of what personal branding is, where it's like more Instagram, TikTok, face, talking to the camera heavy. Yeah. Now, that's something I need to do, and I'm trying to do that like right now, because I know that this is the way the world's changing. And also, if you don't tell your story, there's like other people will tell it, and like, you know, those things that you're like, oh, I should be there, I should be speaking on business, you're never gonna get those things if you are not actually showing people what you're capable of or what you've done. Yeah. But when I did launch, I had like, let's say like 5, 6, 7,000 people following me on Twitter. So people knew who I was, right? And I was speaking about launching this brand on Twitter. So I did the untraditional thing. You know, generally like Nigerians don't tell people until you've done it or whatever. I actually did the reverse and say, actually, I'm coming out with a rum brand at the end of the year, right? So then I have to come up with this brand at the end of the year. And then people... I didn't do this on purpose, but it worked in my benefit, that I was one of those guys that people knew via Twitter or whatever, but they'd never see me out, right? So
Twitter's very much so like that in general. I feel like we all know people from
Twitter,
but you don't know who they are. But I know he's from Twitter.
But you know he's from Twitter. So other than the youths that like knew me, or the youths where we link up to play football or whatever, people didn't really know me. So the first time I popped out, it was like a celeb. Like, oh shit! Oh, you're out. Like you don't ever come out. You don't ever come out. And then like again, I went to DOT. And then those are my boys' things. And then I'm at DOT now showing people this bottle that we didn't like. I only had one bottle with a bit of rum inside it or whatever. And I'm at DOT showing people this thing. And again, I'm the guy that never comes out. Yeah. Right. So then people are like interested, and they want to flock and they want to help. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, so I had that personal brand ish thing from like Twitter, but as far as like now to take it to the next level, I think, you know, and I take inspiration from what you both are doing, right? I think it's important for me to step out and start to do that, because again, I have knowledge. This is just not a hobby. It's something that I've read books about rum. Do you know what I mean? Listen to podcasts about rum. Yeah. Listen to audiobooks about rum. Went to Barbados, Jamaica. Went to Guatemala. Went to different distilleries, etc. Spoken to the top rum guys with the top. Like I've done the work. Do you know what I mean? So it's time to kind of share that and actually like kind of be a bit more like, you know, in front of the camera. So yeah, now I'm making a purpose decision to kind of be in front of the camera instead of like, oh, I'm this shy guy and don't want anyone to know I'm doing.
Bro, do you see the way that you're proper geeked out about rum and the work that you've done, bro? When you start talking to camera, making Instagrams and TikToks, bro, it's going to unlock a whole new thing for you, bro. I'm predicting that from now, bro. It's going to be crazy. But, bro, as we wrap up, there's one question that we always ask our guests when they come on, right? What is the W and the L of your career/journey, or like the cream on the crust, as you will?
The W, I'd say like so many W's. I'd say Stormzy. I've raised a Stormzy thing. I'd say my current team. Like my current team, the biggest W, like, because now I feel like we've got a strong team where everybody, like, it's like now we have a machine, and everyone, and there's a different cog, and it's kind of moving in the way I need it to move. Nice. And the biggest L, I'd say, is I'd say not being clued up enough in the pandemic, because like if I had, let's say, like knew more about business, because again, my knowledge has grown tenfold, but if I knew more about business, knew more about the industry, the brand would be 10 times bigger than it was if the pandemic was like now. Do you know what I mean? If the pandemic was now, I would have grown the brand, because again, like other brands grew tenfold, a millionfold in the pandemic. And I could have done the same thing if I was a bit more clued up. I wasn't just trying to survive. Yeah. If I'd taken a bit more risk and said, you know what, pandemic, you ain't like, obviously the money was a big issue. So yeah and no. Like I would have had to gamble a lot, but if I'd taken a bit more risk in a pandemic, I probably would be in a better situation.
Yeah. Sick, bro.
Yeah.
Thank you for sharing, man.
No, thank you for having me on. I really appreciate it.
Bro, your story is fantastic. Like, I want you to know that we're really proud of you. Like, in regards to like, especially Bricks. When we go out, he's like, that's my guy's team. That's my guy's team. And it's like, we're proud, like, to be able to see it, and then the quality's there as well. Like when people drink it, they're like, "Yo, this is proper." So you know, we just wish you more success as you go along, and like Britt said, keep sharing, because there's lessons that people can learn, not just in regards to spirits and drinks, but in like other parts of business. That there are lessons that you've gone through that will help the next generation be better business owners and be able to get investment and know how to get to the levels that you're at. So thank you very much, man.
Thank you very much for having me on.
Of course, man. Thank you for listening to the Bread and Butter podcast. Make sure you like, share, and subscribe.
Yo, let us know who you want us to bring on. Where can they follow you?
The Rum Rockstar on Instagram. I'm trying to grow that Instagram.
Come on,
small, please.
Come on, please. So we're all going to follow Rum Rockstar after this. But yeah, man, we'll catch you in the next one. Give us your comments. Let us know what other guests you want us to bring on, and yeah, we'll see you on the next one.
Peace.